Hey everybody. So this has been my backyard for the last 7 years. It also happens to be a national park. So there are a lot of critters out here too. There's a fox somewhere on the grounds because I've seen it. It's wandered around the Oval Office. There's a hawk that some kids named Lincoln who flies around here. Mostly though, other than squirrels, I just look at the trees, enjoy the air, and a lot of what I do is just think about how I want to make sure that the beauty of this particular national park, but also national parks all across the country and our planet, are going to be there for Malia, Sasha, their kids, their grandkids, for generations to come. Because of American leadership, we've already been able to get 150 countries that represent about 90% of the world's economy and carbon emissions to agree that we need to come together to create that international framework. And we're going to be meeting in Paris in December to try to hammer out that agreement. Because not only do I want future presidents to be able to take walks like this, I want to make sure that the American people are able to enjoy the incredible national parks, the incredible beauty, the mountains, the oceans that have been one of the greatest gifts that we've ever received. And I want to make sure that the whole world is able to pass on to future generations the God-given beauty of this planet. So we're going to need you to help us on this. You've got to get engaged about why climate change is so important, because if all of America is joining around this critical project, then we can have confidence that we're doing right by future generations and passing on to our kids all the blessings that we've received. Thanks so much, everybody.
This is my favorite song. How did you know?
Come on, Stormtrooper. Come on, man.
Gotta kiss myself, I'm so pretty.
Come on, come on. I'll tell the fun, man.
Russian officials will visit Turkey to discuss the upcoming Syria peace talks. Both Russia and Turkey are in support of the discussions scheduled to be held in Kazakhstan's capital Astana from January the 23rd. UN Special Envoy for Syria, Staffan de Mistura, said the negotiations could help cement a fragile ceasefire currently in place in a war-torn country. The latest cessation of hostilities in Syria began on December 30th after the failure of two previous ones earlier in 2016. The first was reached in February and lasted for 3 months, while the second began in September and lasted just 1 week.
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
That was Donald Trump at his last press conference on July 27th. When he meets the press this week, it will have been 167 days, and we're pretty sure Russia will be listening this time as well. What does he need to say? Let's talk to our panel. Rick Santorum, former presidential candidate and senator from the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Nina Turner, former Ohio state senator. Neera Tanden, president of the Center for American Progress, and CNN political commentator Alice Stewart. Senator, you are a hawk on the subject of Russia. What do you, as a supporter of the president-elect and also somebody who views Vladimir Putin with clear eyes, what do you want him to say when the subject comes up at the press conference?
I think what he will say is what President Bush said, what President Obama said, which is that he's going to, on the subject of Russia, try to chart a new path and reset the relationship. And that he's tweeted many times that he's going to have a better relationship with Russia. President Obama said that. President Bush said that. And I think President Trump's going to try that. President Obama failed. President Bush failed. Just about every other president has failed, maybe with the exception of Ronald Reagan, but that resulted in the collapse of the Soviet Union. So I'm not particularly optimistic, but I don't think it's necessarily a earth-shattering event that one of our major foes that has certainly been a problem for our country, that we have a new president who thinks he can do it better. and he can engage Russia in a way that's more constructive.
Neera, as a victim of the Russian hackers whose emails were released through WikiLeaks, what do you want to hear from President-elect Trump?
I want him to state clearly what the intelligence agencies have now said to him to his face, which is that Russia hacked this election in order to get him elected, help him win. I don't understand why he cannot simply acknowledge that fact. He had his intelligence briefings. He's still misstating facts. He said they only went after Democrats. They never went after the Republicans. They did go after the Republicans. They haven't released that information. And so I have to say, I just do not understand why he will not basically state these facts. And the fact that he won't makes me worried. And that's why I think it's a little ridiculous that we haven't had a single investigation out of the House. They had 33 investigations in the House on Benghazi. This is an issue in which all of our intelligence agencies are saying this is a clear threat, not just for now, but for the future. And I don't understand why the president-elect, why Trump will not say, I'm going to take action on this, and why Speaker Ryan won't hold a single hearing on it.
The point is, we've known about Russian hacking and Chinese hacking of institutions in this country for years. It is nothing new. We've seen this before. Why all of a sudden now, during an election year,
they tried to get Donald Trump elected. That's why it's a big deal. When the Russians come into the United States, steal data, and it's not only that. The intelligence agencies talked about fake news. It's a whole array of forces to undermine our democracy. I just can't understand why people who have been claiming to be patriots and putting our country first won't take action. Why won't Speaker Ryan take action on this?
And the frustration with Trump and the Trump campaign is the Democrats' efforts to undermine his victory. He won this election fair and square through the electoral process. Now by focusing on the Russian hacking with regard to, yes, we do know that based on the evidence presented at the hearings, that Putin did dictate influencing and hacking into the American institutions to influence the election. But there has been zero evidence to prove whatsoever, without a shadow of a doubt, that it impacted the outcome of the election.
That's because the intelligence agencies, please read the report, the intelligence agencies have said they can't determine that, but obviously the fact that Donald Trump used it 164 times in the month of October shows you that there must have been something.
I want to bring you in. What do you make of all this?
I think the president-elect should say that Russia's meddling made a divisive election cycle even that much more divisive. And that as the American president, he will not tolerate that in any form or fashion from any nation. Now, the election was free and fair. I do not believe that meddling, as bad as it was, influenced the outcome. President-elect Trump won the Electoral College, and he will be sworn in as president. But that being said, as Americans, all of us, no matter what side we're on, should be very clear that no other nation has a right to meddle in our elections and that it won't be tolerated. And we as Americans have to make sure that something like this never, ever happens again. Now, I'm not going to hold my breath, but President-elect Trump should make it very clear that he is America's president.
Senator, what else do you want to hear from President-elect Trump when he speaks to reporters?
Well, I mean, on Russia, on
anything.
Well, look, I think the most important thing he needs to focus on is delivering on the agenda that he set, and that is, number one, repealing Obamacare. And I know there's a big fight about repeal and replace, but we have to repeal Obamacare.
So you don't think it needs to be replaced immediately?
I think it should be, the process should be started to replace. And there's a lot of discussion going on right now in the House and Senate as to how to do that. I'm frankly shocked that they don't have a plan, that they haven't really prepared for this. I know it's not going to be an easy thing to do, but they should have put a little bit more work into it than now here in the interim trying to figure out a plan forward. It was always going to be difficult because the vast majority of people who got onto Obamacare, the millions of people who were at it, were not on Obamacare, they're on Medicaid.
Right.
So there's a huge expansion of Medicaid that's occurred. So how are you going to unwind that and transition people into the private sector? I know there has been thinking about it, but no one, to at least my knowledge to date, has a real clear plan on how to do that, and that's a big problem.
Part of the reason that I wanted to do this farewell address in Chicago as opposed to the more traditional practice of doing it in the Oval Office or here in the White House is Chicago's where it all started. So I'll be thinking back to being a young community organizer, pretty much fresh out of school, and feeling as if my faith in America's ability to bring about change and our democracy has been vindicated. The two things I take away from this office are, number one, that change can happen, that the system will respond to ordinary people coming together to try to move the country in a better direction. And the second thing I'll take away from this experience is the fundamental goodness of the American people, all of whom are pouring their heart and soul into making their communities work better, supporting their families, moving this country forward, keeping us safe. It gives you a lot of confidence about our prospects for the future.
This pleading father is from the film Lost and Loved. Hong Kong actor Andy Lau plays the role of a desperate dad on the road looking for his son who was adopted 3 years ago. The film is inspired by a true story and strikes a chord with countless families across China.
Reports say around 200,000 children go missing in the country every year.
To help tackle this tragic issue, China's Public Security Department launched Tuanyuan, an online platform which issues mobile alerts about missing children. After months of system upgrades, the latest version of this platform, known as Reunion in English, is now linked to 14 most popular mobile apps in China. Messages are sent to users when they shop online, hail a taxi, or make e-payment. This is how the app works with China's biggest e-market, Taobao, which has 400 million active users. Once a missing child report is filed and the information is verified, online users will receive a message like this showing the name of the child and the picture and how long he or she has been missing, and the location of where the child was last seen. And crucially, a name and contact for the policeman in charge of the case. The designer believes the app is a bridge that will make the search for the missing children faster and more accurate.
我记得第一次团安系统成功推送孩子失踪消息的时候，项目组所有的小伙伴心情特别的复杂，因为从平台运营的角度来说，这次成功推送就意味着我们的各个技术端口已经打通了。但是呢，它也意味着一个真真切切的一个事实，就是一个孩子真的丢失了，而他能不能回来还是一个未知数。
The latest figures show over the past 6 months, 260 missing children were found out of a 286 missing child release through the app. AutoNavi pushed those alerts to 420 million devices, almost 2.9 billion times. While it's a happy ending for some families, but against the backdrop of 200,000 children going missing every year, there is still more work to do.
Israel for an update on the recent truck attack that killed 4 people and injured 17 others. A photograph has emerged of 28-year-old Fadi Kumbar, identified as the man who drove a truck into a group of Israeli soldiers and pedestrians in Jerusalem on Sunday. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the driver was a supporter of ISIL. He also suggested that the attack was inspired by similar attacks in Europe, though he didn't provide any evidence.
好了吗？你这。 出点润滑液，出点润滑液，出点。来上面张嘴啊！什么明天是今天，快跑这个意思。T台，耳边，hyper knife。
Very well known, and it's a model for us, and mainly because of that he has a lot of things in his brain. He's a great inventor.
蛮好的。
啊，下去吧。别看到这个现在这个宣传一点。嗯，好。好。病人创伤很小。 因为他的生活质量就今后是完全得到了改观，这是我非常享受的，这是我非常愿意去做的这件事情。 没了。
冰它是起到一个外边的起一个保护的作用，就是不要像这个锯齿，让它锯齿呢比较锐利的锯齿把这翅膀给拉伤。
You know, I really do think there are really strong common bonds that bind us together. They're hopeful people, they're optimistic, all the difficulties they've been through, the resilience that they've shown, and it's like so many other people around the world that all they want is an even shot. And Ireland has made a great deal of itself since the Republic's been established, and they're great partners, but it was wonderful opportunity for me to come home and talk about all the things that my mother talked about and why she thought we were so similar.
And my mother imbued in her children and her grandchildren an absolute certitude that they were equal, and I mean this sincerely, they were equal to any man or woman on earth, and that everyone was our equal, deserving of dignity.
You know, the proclamation of Easter Sunday 1916 in many ways mirrors the Declaration of Independence. It talks about equality, it talks about the future, it talks about the faith people have in one another. So I'm really just very proud to be here, and it was an enormous opportunity. And to be selfish about it, I was really happy my 5 grandchildren were here to, not so much to hear, but to see the welcome.
Let's do this thing.
Let's go forward.
We take the steps that are necessary. I saw it.
is right there, evidence of the incredible power of nature to rebuild itself if we're not consistently trying to tear it down.
Shanghai, China's economic powerhouse. The city's wealth is built on the labor of migrant workers. Ma Yunqi is one of them. He's been working here for 13 years as a Spider-Man.
I was young and had no fear. When I saw others doing the Spider-Man job, I wanted to have a try. Young people today won't take this job as they can't bear the bitterness. But finding a job wasn't easy when I first came to Shanghai.
7 hours a day, almost every day, cleaning the windows and exterior of a skyscraper, hanging in midair, is a test of courage and health.
I've given all my youth to this city, but what have I got? I have to return to hometown when I get old.
Deng Jianbing was one of the first Spider-Men in Shanghai. Now he runs a cleaning business. He has witnessed the astounding urban growth.
What I have achieved is through years of struggle. But 30 years ago, when I was a Spider-Man, I sat on the roof at midnight, watching the bustling metropolis. Not a window was mine. You see the beauty, but it's not the same scenery to me. I still can't integrate into the city. Although I have made my foothold, the city has yet to accept me.
Deng says the high-risk job can only be done by migrant workers, but their income has not followed Shanghai's development.
China's fast economic growth has speeded up urbanization, and rural migrants have flowed to big cities like Shanghai for jobs and a chance to make it big. This economic upheaval comes at a human cost.
Ma Yunqi lives on the edge of the city and on the edge of poverty. He runs this room with his wife, who is also a migrant worker. Leaving home is a choice of economic necessity, and the emotional cost is tremendous.
My daughter said, as long as the money is enough to live on, please ask father to come back home.
I can only get back once every year, for about 20 days. The biggest support is my family members.
Ma Yunqi's family is in a village in Anhui province, more than 10 hours away by bus. His 7-year-old daughter and 10-year-old son live with their grandparents. It's a common situation for left-behind children and the elderly in rural China. Living conditions are poor, as the countryside has few resources. Kids understand it's not easy to earn money. We showed them the video of their father. It's the first time they've ever seen how he works.
爸爸不会放弃干活的。
为什么呢？
因为他什么样也得干呀，是为了挣钱。
那你
他干活为了什么？
楼是不是很高啊？给你看这个照片。
去过上海是住一。
但是到那里没法上学是吧？
搁上海那可不能上学。妈妈走的时候还给我5块钱，妈妈走的时候我都要哭了。
We've had so much bitterness. I hope our children have a better life.
Leaving home is not driven by harsh conditions, but pulled by a desire to earn more money.
爸爸妈妈，我爱你。爸爸，你辛苦。
Migrant workers like Ma Yunqi can't see a brighter future ahead, but they're grateful to be able to support loved ones back home.
China's cities have been undergoing a rapid economic and social evolution at a speed and on a scale which have been unprecedented. Migrant workers have acted as both the cause and effect of the urbanization. My colleague Nathan King joins me here.
Thanks, Han Bin. As we've travelled and reported across China, we've brought you stories of hardship, but also happiness and hope. For some, the Chinese dream has already been realised. They own property in Beijing. They invest abroad, and perhaps the ultimate status symbol, buying a house in the United States. We went to a big destination of Chinese capital in the US, Seattle, and saw how some Chinese can afford luxury on the other side of the Pacific.
Come on in, Nathan.
Chinese buyers looking at Seattle real estate will likely already know Mei Yang. The Nanjing native knows what Chinese buyers are looking for, even down to an auspicious price tag.
We're going to list at 2.998 to make the number appealing to the Chinese buyers.
This near $3 million house on a beautiful lakefront has dragon and lion statues and is a new construction favoured by Chinese buyers. Mei thinks it will be snapped up, maybe for cash, in less than 3 months.
To our left here, you see this is downtown Bellevue.
Driving around the affluent Seattle suburbs of Bellevue and Medina, Mei says good schools, the presence of tech giants like Amazon and soon a branch of Tsinghua University make it a hot market for Chinese looking to invest.
In the past 20-some years, Chinese economy has developed so much, so Chinese people have money now. And then they look at U.S. economy, it's strong, it's getting stronger and stronger. So they want to invest, they want to diversify their assets.
On a wooded hilltop, we meet Chloe Hu from Henan province, a very young Chinese entrepreneur. She's turning this hilltop into a housing development aimed at young families flocking to the area.
We have big companies, Microsoft, Amazon. We have a hospital. We have Expedia. Lots of things like that. So, lots of opportunity for young people to start their career here.
Mei Yang says some Seattle residents are concerned that Chinese investment is pushing up prices, making homes too expensive. But many US sellers in the Seattle area are knocking on her door, knowing that she has good connections to wealthy Chinese buyers. Chinese investment in US real estate creates a lot of headlines, but what the headlines don't normally say is the number of jobs it creates in the US, in construction, in the legal and financial sector, not to mention all the wealth created for US citizens who sell to Chinese buyers. Han Bin?
Yes, Nathan. The economic growth has brought about wealth, but also great disparity. The ongoing paths will bring ever greater changes to China and its people. I'm Han Bin.
And I'm Nathan King.
Reporting for CGTN
from the Great Wall.